To the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government's statements and actions?
The Acting Prime Minister.
Yes, in the strict context and with the full comprehension and understanding of how they were said in the first place.
Supplementary question. Is the climate in a, quote, crisis entirely of humanity's making, end quote, as claimed by the Secretary-General of the United Nations at a meeting in Tonga yesterday, or is that crisis only a result of long-standing weather patterns, as implied by Winston Peters to Pacific leaders at the same meeting?
Mr. Speaker, the reality is both are contributory. Everyone knows that. For example, the advent of the volcano in Tonga was 10 times stronger in terms of climate change than anyone contemplated. And to say that's of no matter is just to ignore facts. But both statements are correct.
To the Prime Minister, does he agree with Winston Peters that, quote, carbon dioxide is 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere, and of that 0.04%, the human effect is 3%, end quote? Or does he agree with NIWA that humans are responsible for 33% of carbon dioxide that is in the atmosphere now?
With the greatest respect, I can't think of anyone who agrees with NIWA on that matter worldwide.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. Does the Minister of Foreign Affairs travelling to the Pacific and questioning the scientific consensus on climate change enhance or diminish New Zealand's standing and reputation in the Pacific?
No such thing has happened. In fact, of the 14 countries... Now, do you want the answer or do you want to shout out like an inexperienced leader? Do you want the answer? You going to keep quiet? Well, of the 14 countries... Of the 14...
yeah, very good. Just carry on with the answer.
Of the 14 countries that I visited in a matter of months, every one of those countries has been grateful for our understanding of the matters of climate change, the financing of climate resilience projects. We launched, for example, just one the other day with respect to radar in Tonga, followed very hard upon, of course, the most dynamic recovery of the Dart Buoy tsunami warning of 17 Dart Buoys, which were let run down to the last one before an informed individual, you're looking at him, realised what a disaster this was, and all 17 are back in place now. And all those countries, all those 14 countries, have been enormously grateful for two things: for seeing somebody turn up for the first time for a very long, long time, and what we're doing to help them.
Supplementary question. Why does the Prime Minister believe that it's okay for the Minister of Foreign Affairs to travel to the Pacific and question the science of climate change in front of leaders who in some cases are finding their countries literally sinking into the ocean?
Exaggeration.
Because nothing of the sort is happening. The reality is when someone is giving an interview and makes a statement, it has to be seen in its totality, not just grab one little phrase, a few words, and think, I'll make a home run of that. Now look, if you're in a court of law, you'd never try that because you're bound to fail every case.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Seymour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Was just now the first time that the Acting Prime Minister had heard in this House the assertion that, in fact, the sea level is not rising, but the Pacific Islands are sinking?
That's a question that the Minister has
Actually,
no responsibility
I'd love to...
nor any capability to scientifically answer. The Right Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. Does the Prime Minister agree with his Foreign Minister that, quote, the biggest tsunami in recent times was 1968, there's always climate change, end quote? If so, does he think that tsunamis are primarily caused by climate change or earthquakes?
With respect, I don't pretend, no one pretends here to be a scientist on this matter. But one has to listen to the science. And the second thing is, it can be caused by a volcano. It can be caused by an earthquake. That's why we've got the Dart Buoys out there. By the way, could I tell Mr. Seymour that actually in the Pacific, about 25% of the islands are actually, in fact, rising. And the scientific out-of-space imagery proves that categorically, but of course they wouldn't want to know that, would they?
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. Is the Minister of Foreign Affairs' refusal to acknowledge humanity's contribution towards climate change a reflection of his government's abandonment of New Zealand's emissions reductions targets?
The reality is nothing of the sort. When we were in the Pacific, they were gradually concerned about the fiscal cliff the previous government left. For example, they set out the financing, they set out the forward financing with respect to climate change, but set the ceiling or the end part at 2025. Not 26, 27, 28. It's as though this issue would be solved by 2025. That's how naive they were.